Hello, I'm Pockets here, back again playing some more EVE Online, and we are back on Kel. It is still the Rogue Swarm event, alert event, and I have finished it. Got it all done. So I wanted to take a moment and sort of talk about my feelings and how I felt about this event in particular. Overall, I really liked it. I found it was a lot of fun. The hacking game, being as hard as it was, may have gated it for some folks, especially alphas or newer players. Again, gated it slightly. The thing I found is lower skill players could easily go to a site someone's already running and kill the smaller stuff and still get a lot of the credits, because you still get the completion credit when the battleship dies, even if you're not the one that kills it. And so, I mean, it gave some reason for more skilled players to try to team up with smaller players. Happened a few times to me where I'd be in the site with my Stratios hacking the can, and dude in a cruiser would come up and just shoot all the other stuff and leave the battleship. And I mean, you only miss out on 8-ish points per site for hacking the can and salvaging the wreck. You get full kill credit for anything you kill. You get full completion credit. So most of your points comes from these two anyway. So I felt that was an okay balance. It gave something for someone with a little more skill points in hacking, like me, to be able to do. It was a little hard if you were only using T1 hacking skills, especially if you were in an unbonused ship, so not in a Stratios, for example, and only using T1 hacking skills with lower skills, so alphas especially. But I think that's okay. I think it's okay to have parts of a site. I mean, it wasn't completely gated. It was only worth an extra 4 points to be able to hack it. Now, it was required to spawn the battleship, so if you couldn't hack it and there was nobody there to hack it for you, you couldn't complete the site. That might be something to look at for future events. Maybe have a way, maybe a timer where hacking it can spawn it quick, but like as the final wave or right away, or you can burn through all the waves and have them spawn as the last wave. Maybe something like that to make it a little more accessible for lower skill point players. Having the hacking be hard but spawn anything at the end would give advanced players, people with the skills and that, to have a faster way to complete the sites. Might be an interesting thing to think about for future stuff, but I did like it. I liked it overall. The grind was just was well laid out. So the the unlocks came just fast enough that you didn't feel you were doing it for nothing. At least I found. I remember doing the Shadow of the Serpent event. I never even finished it. You were grinding constantly. The way that it was all laid out, the number of points you needed, and how you could only do a certain number of points per day. Everything just dragged out, and I lost interest back in the Shadow of the Serpentis, which is sad. It would have been nice to have that blueprint, but it took 7 or 14 days or something of actual daily doing it to get to that point. This moved a lot faster. You could grind it out in about, I'd say about 10 hours if you just did it all the way through. And you could spread that over a few days, and it was a good pacing. You did a few sites, you got your first skin. You did a few more. All in all, it took me about a week because I didn't get to play every day, and that was, like I said, I know some people that finished it in like 2 days or one sitting if they had 10 hours to play, like on a weekend. So it worked out pretty well. So overall, really good site. I liked the pacing of the rewards. The rewards were good. I liked the skins. I have all 4 now. The Subverted drones, which we'll actually talk about in the next half of this video after I'm done sort of my thoughts, were pretty good. Pretty good prize for the end, I think. Would have liked... I don't know what else I would have liked here. Drops were pretty good. Got a ton of blueprints. I don't actually have them in this hangar here, but I do have the rest of my accelerators. I don't have that many left. I've been giving out some, especially these ones, the basics and the standards, to my newer players or to my alphas, so like my court mates. So a few left, so that's cool. I'm gonna grind a few more of these advanced ones up for Cal here, and I'll probably end up with more of that. And I have a crap ton of, I might have a couple blueprints. Let's see if I left any here. I do have a crap ton of drone blueprints. Yeah, I have nothing left here. They're all over in the other station. A crap ton of them. So we'll see what that turns into in the future. I'm probably going to sit on them for a little while, just because I don't like building things. I'll have to get other people to build them because I don't have the skills to build most of the drone stuff. And so I'll have to get someone to build them for me to put them on market. And everybody's going to have them because there was a lot given out. I suspect the price of things like augmented, well, maybe not, but augmented and that sort of the advanced drones may come down, but there wasn't that big of an increase on the actual materials. And So when I built my Subverteds, that's what I noticed is the materials cost a lot, even if the blueprint was free. The materials were crazy, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So I think the prizes were pretty good. Like, look at that, all those blueprints. All those drones, and then some bits. So that's pretty cool. The one thing, again, I want to mention is the clicking. While it wasn't so such a hassle as it was in the Abyssal event, having to click, wait for this to load, and then click to accept was a bit of a drag. It made the process feel a lot longer. And even then, there was times where I'd get like the kill halfway through and I wouldn't hand it in right away, so a few of the kills didn't count, but that's mutable. Again, I think I'd like to see a way to accept the rewards right from here. So you still have to go click on it. You can see it pop up. You can go up here, click on it. It doesn't have to launch this, because mainly this taking up so much real estate while you're fighting and having to wait for it to load sometimes was a pain in the butt. But for the most part, I just did it at the end while I was salvaging, so it wasn't so bad. All in all, this might be my favorite of the events so far, and it shows that they've kind of got this into a place where it works really well. They have a really good idea of what they're doing with these sites, and I can't wait to see just the fine refinements and how far these are going to go. Really exciting. Okay, so what people actually want to talk about today. Let's go back to my other station. Not that it matters, but I'll show you all the blueprints. The subverted drones, especially what they're going to do for the Gila. I am happy to announce that it doesn't make the Gila any more powerful. It doesn't change anything for the Gila as far as I'm concerned. My Gila will be the same as it's always been. It does do some other neat things, which I'm very excited about, but we'll talk about that. First, let's look at the Gila and what I mean, and the subverted drones in particular. The first thing is the cost of these drones. So right now the market hasn't settled out. We don't know where it's going to land. For me, the big cost, I got a free blueprint. Actually, I got a free blueprint from one of my viewers, which was excellent. I really appreciate that. So I've been playing with the subverted drones for a bit now, and I have a second copy that I can use for future stuff, and that's excellent. And I really appreciate that copy, that blueprint that I got. I got that blueprint from Major Leakage, so I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, back onto it. Where was I? Lost the thought. I wanted to remember who gave it to me, and I couldn't remember his name for the life of me. Major Leakage, thank you for the blueprints. I built them, and they are actually on this Stratios that you're looking at right now, but we're not going to look at that just yet. We're going to go back into here. We're going to look at my Gila. So first, we're going to do a quick comparison of the drones themselves. So let's get into the fitting tool. We'll do it with my skills and in the various ships, because that's kind of what matters. We're going to simulate, yep. We're going to go into here. So I did have it built with subverted. Just the one, yes, okay. This is my simulation. I already had this loaded up for you guys, so this is great. I have all the different types of hammerheads and the subverted, so we can compare strictly on the Gila. So we'll bring up the subverted. Okay, and it is a medium drone we'll do a Hammerhead II. So that's kind of what I'm using now. We'll do the Federation Navy Hammerhead, and we'll do the augmented. All right, so first off, we won't even look at cost at this point. Let's just look at the different drones here. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller so they all fit. All right. Window's going to get a bit busy, so just to bear with me. And there we go. All right. So first off, the subverted drone is a fair bit tankier overall, especially in useful areas. So if we compare to the Hammerhead, and I'm doing that because this is your highest DPS, lowest tracking. And then you'll see there's a reason for that as we go. So of the 4 drones, this is typically your highest raw damage, lowest tracking. And technically, I think it's the slowest as well. So it's a good one to compare to the subverted for reasons. So first off, way more hit points where it matters. Now this is getting the Gila bonus. So you can see base value is 216 times 500% bonus from the Gila. Right, so 400. So almost double just in the armor. And more than double in the shield already. So it's kind of heavy drone level tanking on the subverted, even though it's a medium drone, which is cool. If you need tanking, this is a good option. And again, the tank mat is where it matters. It's in your shield. which is a good spot to have it because that's the first one to hit and it's in your armor. Where the hammerheads actually improve is in the structure, but I try not to let my drones get to structure. In PvP, that might matter a little more, but you're going to overall much more tanky on the Subverted, especially for explosive. You get 10% more resist, and you get more resists by 10 in here as well. EM thermal in your shield, that's kind of where it matters. So much tankier. Let's scroll on, see what else we have. So this stuff is all the same. Let's go to optimal range. It's the same across the board, if I remember correctly. All of them have the 5250 with my skills. So that means they all have the same base. However, 4200 base plus my skills plus the drones or whatever, plus mods, all that. Signature radius, these are much bigger, so they're much easier to hit by twice. Makes sense, because they're technically very large medium drones. Signature resolution, same thing. Takes a little longer to lock a target, that type of thing. Activation proximity, so they can be activated from further away, which is great. Actually, fall off is the same across the board. And tracking is comparable, though it is lowest on the Subverted. So it's almost negligible outside of the Federation Navy, just a fair bit bigger than the other two. But you pay for that in some other areas, in damage especially. Velocity, it is much slower than the hammerheads. And this being pretty much the slowest of the mediums, that's something. So this is the slowest medium you're going to use. Here's where it's interesting. And this is where I think CCP did this on purpose so that it would not break the Gila, and it works beautifully. Damage multiplier. You can see how different it is. Even just the base Federation Navy, which is the lowest, 29, it's more than half, or more than double the Subverted's damage multiplier. So 8.85, 1.92, 1.92, 2.1. This one's actually higher because it's getting a bonus from the specialization skill. That's the difference between these two, is you get the benefit of the Galente specialization. And then 2.1. So the damage multiplier per drone is much lower. Also, keep in mind on the Gila, you can only fly one Subverted. You can fly two of these. So it furthers this gap. And we'll show that in a second. Otherwise, about the same. This is the 20 megabits versus 10. So this is how you can fly two of these on the Gila with its 20, and you can only fly one of these. And orbital velocity, it's slower as well. So this orbits faster than this does. The damage is interesting because it's spread across all 4 damage types, just like its big brother, the Gecko, which we will also look at. But so overall, in most situations where you can fly 5 hammerheads or even 5 subverteds, this is not going to do more than a hammerhead. As far as damage, as far as speed, all of it, the hammerhead is just going to be better in this case. Okay, so 2 to 1. So we're going to close this for now. We're going to switch ships. So that's how it doesn't break the Gila. Gila doesn't change. I'm not even going to use Subverted on it. Mine doesn't even have them on it. Where it does help, actually, do we want to go where it does help? Let's actually look at another case that someone brought up. We're going to look at the Ishtar. Now, I do have a fit here ready. It's kind of just threw this together for the event. I don't have it built because I don't have the bits, and I don't feel like going to market to get it now that I'm done the event. But this is how I would build it for this event. The reason I have 3 up here is because a 4th one gives me too much CPU. Doesn't actually quite fit. So I just put 3. It doesn't matter. Threw in as many as I could. But that's not the important part. Oh, hang on. Let's just go back. Forgot to do this. So to prove my thing, so here's the Hammerhead II. This is just the 2. This isn't even the most damaging of them. It's not the augmented. 2 gets me 761 DPS. 515 of that is from drones. Okay. When we swap this to the Subverted drones, 1, oops, don't have enough room. Let's get rid of this. 2, and as we just said, you get 1, 422 DPS from drones. So 100 DPS less for the Subverted. So no real advantage to using it on the Gila. I like it. Ishtar, back to the Ishtar. I believe, yes, we're good there. We can go Ishtar now. So the Ishtar, now this is an interesting ship. I thought this would be really good with these. We have 125 megabits of bandwidth, which means it's enough to fly 5 Subverted drones. or 2 geckos, or 5 ogres. Let's put the geckos in here as well, because this will be a good place to compare the gecko. Yep. Heavy drones, gecko, 1, 2, because we can only fly 2. Beautiful. Okay, so this is the base of it. Let's compare it now. So when we bring up the comparison now, since we have this selected, it'll give us the bonuses for this ship. So there's our Subverted. We'll bring up the Gecko. We'll bring up the Ogre. Okay, so Gecko and Ogre, these are heavy drones. Gecko is very similar to the Subverted as a heavy drone. So, hit points wise, Gecko is king. Look at this thing. Gecko is a beast. The Subverted does shine over the Ogre in all but structure. Same as we were looking at before with the Hammerheads. Optimal range. Where is it? There it is. So optimal range is the same between these two. The Gecko is a little further, and that's great. It's one of the Gecko strong points, is a little bit longer range. Actually fall off. The Subverted is a shorter range on its fall off. So Hammerhead can shoot out further, same with the Gecko. Turret tracking. We actually get better tracking on the Ogre than we do on the Subverted. And it's a pretty decent amount. So you're actually going to hit more often with an Ogre over the Subverted. The Gecko's just a beast in tracking. It's got like ridiculous tracking equivalent to a medium. So that's also something to consider. Velocity. Now obviously the Ogre is the slowest, but it also has the longer range, so it doesn't have to be quite as fast. The Gecko is really fast by comparison to all three. So the Gecko is still kind of overshining in the raw stats department at this point. Damage multiplier, again, take a look at the Subverted. Because it has that low base damage multiplier value, the bonuses from the Ishtar are keeping it at about a third, a little bit more than a third of the other two drones, the heavies. Now, the Ogre is also benefiting from specialization because it's an Ogre II, so Glinty specialization. Where it's interesting is the 20 megabits, which means on our Ishtar we can field 2 of these. We can field 5 of the heavies and the Subverted. So let's see what that looks like. On the Ishtar we have 5 Ogres. We are doing 730 DPS, and remember we have better tracking. So that DPS is applying better than the Subverted's DPS. It's a little slower. If we swap that to Subverted, so 730, we go down to 600. So not only are we doing 130 less DPS, 131, we're also tracking worse. Interesting. So this may not be a situation where you want to use the Subverted. Okay, but how does that compare to the Gecko with the Ishtar? We can field 2 Geckos on this Ishtar. So we do less DPS, but keep in mind it is way faster and tracks way better. So for the 20 DPS, my guess is, especially against things like cruisers and down, especially there, the Gecko is still going to be better on an Ishtar than the Subverted. And that's not even accounting for things like sentry drones. So again, I think the Subverted may not have a place right here. So what's it for? So far, the Subverted does not seem to be that great. And this is where my favorite, oops, I want to close that. This is my favorite thing about this particular drone. Okay, so it's kind of why I like it. And that's when we get into ships like this. Here's a drone boat, and there are other ones. I can't name off the top of my head. But if we go to a Stratios, one of the first things we notice is we only have 100 megabits of bandwidth, which means we can field 2 Geckos, which means we can field 4 heavies, and we can field 5 Subverted. So, without looking at the numbers first, let's just look at the numbers on the sheet, and we will start with our Ogre IIs. So 4 Ogres gives us 658 DPS. Not bad. Better tracking, slower speed still than the 5 Subverteds. What does the Subverted get us? So 658. So it gives us 20 more DPS. 5 drones. They do move a little faster, but again, that tracking. And we'll take a look at that just to make sure it's the same on the Stratios. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but there we go. So it is more DPS than 4 Ogres. It's faster moving, but we do have that tracking hit maybe. Because remember, the Ishtar, I did that wrong. I had a way I was going to say that, but the Ishtar does have, I'll show you. Oh, my ship is uninsured. Better do that one day. Right here. Here. Heavy drone, max velocity, and tracking speed. So we do more DPS with the Subverted here. Let's also check the Gecko just to see. So what was this? 672.5, which is the highest DPS we have on the Stratios here. 652. So it is around where the 4 ogres were, a little bit less than the 4 ogres. Yeah, a little bit less than the 4 ogres. But again, way better tracking on the Gecko. Now, Gecko also benefited from the increased tracking on the Ishtar. So let's take a look. I meant to mention that when I was talking about the Ishtar, but I suck sometimes. I don't script these things. I kind of go through it in my head once and then do it. And that's just the way I do it because I feel more comfortable that way. We'll do that. We're not even going to bother compare. Well, let's compare it to the Hammerhead in this case as well. Hammerhead 2s, just to get the full, and Ogre 2s. Okay. So heavy, heavy, heavy. Let's get this up. Get this over. Get this last one over here. So we won't look at the armor. We know where these things lie. Same. It's going to be the same kind of, because it's all the same bonuses. So let's scroll down here. Optimal range will be the same for the most part, except for the Gecko. Just gets the bonus. Everything else is about the same. All right. Turret tracking. So here we can see 1. The Gecko still gets its monster Gecko bonus because it's the Gecko. But now we are tracking better with the Subverted than we are with the Ogres. And not quite as well as we are with the Hammerhead. So the Hammerhead is still a better tracker by about 0.07, 0.08. So a little better tracking here, but velocity, we are no longer the slowest. I mean, we're faster than the Ogre now because we don't get that Ishtar bonus. The other 2 are still a bit faster. Damage multiplier. Again, we're at about half. But we saw that because of the way this damage works, the bonus isn't quite as far off because we're not getting that 500%. It's not increasing that gap like the Gila does between the Hammerhead and the Subverted, and we're able to put 5 of them in. We do end up doing more DPS for the Subverted on the Nomad. Now, and the tracking's comparable. I mean, it's a little better. It's definitely better than the Ogre, which does less damage, lower tracking, and is slower. So this is definitely a case where the Subverted is going to work out better overall than most of these. Now, the Gecko is still going to be better against smaller targets. So there's a trade-off. And the Hammerhead 2 as well. Now, if we go to the... Can't remember the name. Oh, the Augmented. I think we'll still see that the Augmented Drone is better. So let's take a look. The Augmented Medium Drones. We can do that quite quickly here. Augmented Hammerheads. Let's do Hammerheads because we're mostly doing high-sec stuff. So, show info. So we know most of these are the same. We're going to get much better tank. It didn't actually do it because I didn't put it on this. I have to put it in here. So let's remove this. Let's remove the Ogres because they're not good. We'll do that. And that's what we get for damage out of 5 of them. 2, 3, 4. Did I get 5 or is that 4? Did I count that right? Yeah, there we go. So 486. I didn't actually do this pre, so we're doing it live. 687. So we are better off overall running the Subverted. Yeah, and excellent. So for the event site, as I was saying, so the Subverted is great on ships like the Stratios, where you have that 100 megabits, you can't quite do 5 Ogres, and you're missing the bonuses of the Ishtar. The Ishtar did not increase. I didn't consider the tracking bonus to heavies when I was thinking about it. I thought the Ishtar would be great, but you're better off using heavies in the Ishtar. Really cool. So I like the drones. It does bring... I've always wanted a Stratios. I wanted a reason to fly the Stratios, and this brings up my DPS. So there's my Subverted DPS, 672. It does bring it up a little closer to what I was getting in my Gila. So there's my Gila with 2 Hammerheads. So it actually brings it a little above until I put in my missiles, because we have to consider that as well. 761.1 all in with the Gila on paper. And on my Stratios, no. 761.3. And, because I forget what the number was the first time, load ammo. 671. So we're 100 DPS less. It brings it a lot closer, but we get some utility. We get, for this event, especially with the hacking, we get the extra points towards hacking and scanning if we were to scan. And yeah, so it's excellent. It makes it more of a sit there and hack the can. I can fit a Microwarpdrive easier on this build than I can on my Gila. So it gave me a reason to use the Nomad, which is how I finished the site. I've been doing it in the Nomad. So I will show you guys that real quick before we call this video done. And what I'm doing now that I have the event complete, basically, is popping on, taking out the battleship, and leaving. But we will fly the Stratios with our subverted drones, just for fun. One last run of the Rogue Swarm nest before we pack it in for as far as video recording is concerned. Why are these? No. How did that happen? Why did they launch in space? Ooh, that could have been bad. Okay. I mean, I could have found them easy, but that's my one big fear. So the other thing I need to talk about while running this site, because you've seen me do it, is the fact that these drones are not cheap. I had them built. The raw materials alone right now were 50 million a piece. It was 250, 260 million in raw materials. And the materials to build the Gecko, not to account for the actual cost of installing the job and having someone do it, paying them their, giving them a tip, that sort of thing, or buying them on the market. I did check the markets quickly on ePhrasil. They're not showing up, so I don't know what they're currently going for. I don't want to make any calls based on their current price because we need them to settle. We need things to settle out a bit first. I have heard them going as high as 150 mil a piece, which puts them in and around even a little more than Geckos. Currently, Geckos are about 100 mil, 90 to 100. So they may not. The extra DPS in most cases is probably not worth it at the current price. So we'll have to see where they settle out. If they settle out around 60 million, there may be some cases for them. But it'll depend. It'll depend. I mean, you see they do a fair bit. They do a little bit more DPS than the augmented. So if they settle slightly above the augmented, that's probably where I would see them. If they're 100 million, they're almost better off buying augmented drones and just taking the slight DPS hit. So we'll have to see where they settle out. The fact that we only get them from this event means there are unlimited supplies, much like the Gecko, so that will increase their value slightly. And depending on how the materials, I'm pretty sure the materials bottleneck is for the augmented drones now that there's a bajillion blueprints for them out there. So who knows? So as far as pricing as a balancing is concerned, I've never really liked pricing as a balancing. It will come up, but you need to wait for the new stuff until it's been out for a while and people have had time to build stockpiles of them. So we'll see. But that is the one concern I'm about when I'm flying with them right now, because it's, say 250 million, because that's what it cost me to build it, not including blueprint price if you were to buy the blueprint, all that stuff. 250 million worth of freaking drones sitting right here in this one folder. I'm afraid to leave them behind. But that's life. So we'll see here if we can find a rogue drone site, and we will run it real quick, see what we can get. One last one for the video series before I close it down till the next event, which should be coming pretty quick because we have Halloween, so we should be getting the Blood Harvest. Blood Harvest coming up next month would be my guess. Oh, and I love the Blood Harvest. Maybe I can finish getting my my skins for that. See what I'm missing. There's none here. That's pretty weird. Usually at this time of day I can find all sorts of sites, but that buys me a second to go to the skins. So this was a recent change where they stopped sorting them by material type, which means they didn't break. So for example, exoplanet, right now it's all under exoplanet skin, exoplanet hunter. It used to be under each race. So you'd have 4 of these, or 5 if it also went on pirate ships, which I don't think this did. You'd have 4 different exoplanet ones, 1 for each race. Now it's all under the same one, which is nice. It makes it easier, so I can just look for, what was it called now? I don't remember the name of the harvest one. Not Headhunter, which was also cool. I'd like to see those come back so I can finish getting them. Oh, man. Oh, man. Making a fool of myself right now. Crimson something. Is it Crimson? I know how to find out. I think I have them for this. Oh, no. I never made it for this ship. Darn it. Anyway, I'm missing some of those. The ones from the Crimson Harvest. The name is escaping me. Oh, good. We have a site. let's just do this. There goes the Subverted. We'll get them on these guys. We'll get our data module hacking. And we'll just burn through this real quick. So the rule 6, head to this little node here. There was one here. Okay, so 3, 4. So we're going to go this way. 2, 1. Probably right there. 3, 2, 1. 2, right? So here. That's a shield. That's good. Grab that. 2, 1. There it is. We'll grab those. Get the battleship dead. Oops. Come on, drones. Where's the battleship? There he is. Get him. Pulse this. Let's activate these because duh. I usually do 1 or 2 pulses on my Microwarpdrive to close the distance. We'll orbit him at 1,000. Unlock that. And just he makes the drones are on him now, so they're going to make short work of this guy. Kill that now that we're close. And here we go. And then I just loot and salvage the battleship and move on. That's how I've been doing it since I finished all the event. I don't need the points anymore. Salvage, because I'm looking for those drone AIs. They're about 8 mil a piece. So they add to the cost of building the drones, because a lot of the augmented drones need them and all that. So any of the more advanced, I don't mind buying the cheaper stuff typically, but the advanced, the AIs and the other, there's another one. I don't have any here because I've jumped off most of my rewards. All right, he's dead. So how fast that was? So good. I still think the Gila does it faster, but this ship is way better at the hacking portion. So, and I need it. I like a reason to fly this thing. Also, this is much cheaper, a fair bit cheaper than my Gila is right now. Integrated. Boo. Didn't want the integrated one. And that's 5 and 6. Drones are going to town. You see this one's taking a bit of a hit because they are heavy drone sized. The cruisers can even hit them pretty easy. So once this is salvaged, we move on. And normally, typically, unless I stick around, I never even get into armor. Unless I started at like half. So my second sight I'll have to rep. But overall, it works pretty well this way. We can probably shoot him. We'll miss with our lasers, but that's okay. All right. And that's it. That's how I've been doing the sights. I get credit if I get the loot. I've been saving up for those accelerators and the more rare salvage. Let's get these locked up so we can get them killed. Actually, we're done. And that's it. We are done the site. So that's one last site. That is my thoughts. I really enjoyed this event. I'm super glad that I got to fly my Gila. Or not my Gila. I always fly my Gila. That I got to undock my... Why can't I find the gate? Where am I? I'm in Charm. So I need... Castleman. Where can't... There it is. So I'm super glad that I got to fly my Stratios for a bit, and it actually felt better than my Gila. And that's it. So the Subverted drones, I think they're going to be for a while. They're going to be a little more overpriced than they really can support. They're not that much better. They don't increase the Gila, which is a good thing, even though it would have been fun to have a, Garistas themed, or I guess they're not really Garistas themed, but like the Gecko is, but baby Gecko to go with my Gila. But I'm glad that they didn't just give it another buff. And so that's cool. I like that it is a slight buff to the Stratios, which can use it, because overall, outside of its own niche, it's I mean, as an exploration ship, it's great, but for other stuff, it doesn't perform like the Gila does in combat, and this just helps it along that road. And I'm pretty excited about it. So I'll probably be flying my Gila, or my Gila. I keep saying Gila, so used to it. Flying my Stratios a little bit more, especially if they continue to do this hacking portion for sites. Even if they don't do it for every event, it'd be nice to see it recur every other or whatever they feel is appropriate. But yeah, overall, a great event. Had a lot of fun. So 2 thumbs up. And I'm looking forward to see the new and improved Blood Harvest. I think it's called Blood Harvest. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you did like that video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If I didn't cover something, or I wasn't clear, or I talked a little too fast, definitely ask for clarification. I'd always like talking about Eve, so I'll definitely let you know. If I'm missing a key point, something that sets either the Subverted above what I think they are, or even below where I think they are, because I think they're in a good place, also let me know that. And as always, take care, and I'm out of here.